Speaking of transparency, who do you hate the most in franchising? No, I'm joking. So
I'm very political in that respect.
yeah, with, you went from those roles in terms of VPTs and sales manager, PT manager, franchise sales, and then into executive roles as let's just jump into the CEO role here in Australia and New Zealand. Um, they were quite a large team back then, like you already touched on, when you got involved, about 180 to 200 locations. It's very, very significant brand on any world scale, doesn't matter what you put it up against. When you got into that, what did just talk about the early days of that as a CEO because and talk about what you did in those early days. I still have a very good memory of what you did in your first couple of weeks as a CEO. One thing I really admired that you did, you actually went and visited every location in the network. I thought you'd be crazy at the time, but I remember in that first month or so, you just really flying all over Australia and New Zealand to meet everyone. Sort of talk about the importance of that, being the leader, as that CEO role in the area is, and yeah, share
Sure.
anything you want.
Well, I mean, obviously, I wasn't in the franchise sales role long, right? I
No,
think it
very
was,
quick.
I think it was maybe 7, 8, 9 months,
Yeah.
something like that. And part driven by an exit within the business. But
Mm.
I always say there's two things that get you an opportunity. One, perform,
Yep.
deliver a killer result,
Yep.
and obviously I was doing well in that franchise sales space. And two, let people know what you want.
Yeah.
And so I think when I saw that opportunity, I had the conversations directly. I said, "Hey, I'm performing. That's not a question.
Yeah.
Number two, give me the opportunity. I know what needs to happen here to keep this thing growing and growing quickly." And a big part of that is having people that feel connected,
Mm.
having a relationship with those people. Now, sometimes that puts pressure on you by having a bit more of a personal relationship with that franchisee, but it also allows you to put more pressure on them
Mm.
to be able to have a very frank, honest, direct conversation with them because you've got a relationship with them.
Yep.
If you don't have a relationship with them, it's very difficult to do that.
Mm.
And so for me, one of the first things I did, whether it be the APAC role here, the Australia CEO role, or when I stepped into the global CEO
Mm.
role, the first thing I did was get out into the field and spend time with the franchisees.
Mm.
And I think if you're stepping into a role to run a franchise business and you're not out there understanding who your number one customer is, being your franchisee,
Yep.
your number two customer, yeah, okay, you could say your number one customer is the ultimate end consumer, and it is to a degree, but for us, it's both the end consumer and the franchisee. They're both our customers.
Yeah.
But if we really look after our franchisee and get that right,
Mm.
then they'll look after the consumer.
Yep.
And so our viewpoint is to some extent, our first customer is our franchisee. And so getting to know them was super important. It just was a natural thought process to me that
Mm.
step one was going to be, let me get out there and spend the time. And so I did the road shows. I spent a lot of time just having conversation with franchisees, trying to understand what's working, what's not working, where do we need to support more. And one of the critical things that I learned was we were really deficient in a controlled strategy around marketing.
Mm.
What was our go-to-market strategy? And so that's where you and I started to have some pretty significant conversations around how do we structure and standardize our marketing,
Yep.
bring people together more so we're speaking the same language,
Yep.
putting the same offer into the marketplace,
Yep.
and accelerating and driving that well. And how do we support our franchisees more from a sales perspective?
Mm.
And so again, all of that background in sales came into this space. And so I spent a lot of time with our franchise support structure in just educating and coaching a sales process,
Mm.
marketing and sales. Let's drive more members into our clubs because sales solves all problems.
That's
And
it.
so it's always the viewpoint that when our franchisees are making more money, I have less headaches, full stop. So that was the key focus is build a relationship and get more business in their door.